And wherever you are, go ahead and share tonight's episode with someone, with a friend. And if you're driving in your car, let someone know where they can hear TMG.
It's time to get on board. TMG is taking off.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to TMG. I'm your host, Travis Patton Sr. I enjoy discovering and sharing real-life moments of inspiration from everyday people. And this show is about finding moments of inspiration for our everyday lives. And look, and if you're going to tell me something, then tell me something good. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of TMG. I'm your host, Travis Patton Sr. Hey, guys, look, real quick, do me a favor. Don't forget to visit, share, and like our YouTube page. That's Tell Me Something Good with a capital T. And as always, before I get started, I want to give a huge shout out to my biggest supporter, my biggest fan, my lovely wife, Nicole. Hey, girl, how you doing? I know you're watching. I know you're listening. Man, tonight's episode is going to be amazing. Yeah, I know I say that about every episode, but this is a really good episode. Tonight's episode, guys, is going to be something spectacular, and you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss out on this episode. Guys, before we get started, you know I got to give a shout out to all my new supporters, my new listeners. Whether you are listening right now in China, or maybe you're listening in Japan, or maybe you're listening in the Philippines, or maybe you happen to be listening in the UK, or in Canada, or in Greece, wherever you are listening to this show, let me take this time to tell you thank you. I appreciate it. If this is your first time tuning in and hearing my voice, what do you say? Well, Travis, man, I've been listening to the show for the 4 years you've been streaming, and I've been enjoying it. Thank you very much to those who have been tuning in. I really appreciate you. Guys, everybody knows that this show is all about finding moments of inspiration in our everyday lives. So if you have an inspiring story that you'd like to tell and maybe come on a show, drop us an email at tellmesomething21@gmail.com. It's like, Travis, look, I don't want to come on the show. I'm a little camera shy. That's okay. Drop us a message anyhow. Drop us the name of someone who you know who have a great inspiring story and could be on the show at tellmesomething21@gmail.com. And guess what? And you can even remain anonymous if you like. So there you go. You don't even have to come on the show. Guys, we have a few affiliate sponsors, and I want to go ahead and bring that information on the show. After that, come on, guys. We're going to get started because this is an episode you can't miss. Walmart is a proud associate sponsor of TMG Tell Me Something Good podcast. Please use the special link bit.ly/Tell Me Something Good and visit our sponsor. Remember, I may earn a commission when you buy through this link. Fanatics is the place to go for all of your officially licensed sports gear from your favorite sports and sports teams. Use the special link bit.ly/Tell Me Something 21 and pay a visit to our sponsor today. Remember, I may earn a commission when you buy through this link. There it is, guys. Please visit one of our sponsors. The information is in the chat. The links are right there in the chat. Please visit them and get some great deals. Guys, we're going to go ahead and get started with this episode. Now, in case you didn't know what today's episode was all about, in case you didn't hear it, guys, today's episode is entitled hurdles. Yeah, hurdles. And I know that can go in a lot of different directions. And you hear the word hurdles, and your mind begin to think about certain hurdles that you're facing right now, things and challenges and moments that you had to look into right now. But if you were to watch any relay race, whether it be in the Olympics that's coming up very soon, yeah, any relay race, and chances are you might see a hurdle, right? Those things that people have to jump over. Some hurdles are higher than others. They're not all the same height, not all the same size, but some hurdles are higher than others. But like the runners in a race, each of us come face to face with our own hurdles. No person who was racing purposely goes into another runner's lane and jump their hurdles. I've never seen somebody in a race jumping someone else's hurdle. You can't do that. No person in a race purposely goes in another runner's lane and jumps their hurdle. Why? Because no one can jump our hurdle for us. Our very special guest today is a retired Marine Corps pilot and TEDx speaker. He is, quite familiar with getting over hurdles. Guys, do me a favor, give a huge TMG welcome to our very special guest, guys, Garret Biss. Guys, what up, man? How you doing, Garret?
Travis, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm excited to be here, but most so, I'm happy that you're here, Garret.
I'm happy to be here too. First off, you got to tell me, Travis, what kind of coffee are you drinking? Because mine don't have as much kick as yours do, apparently.
Everybody says that. Honestly, Garret, this is me. I know you and I met. I said, Garret, my energy's gonna be a little tone. We met before the show, and I said, man, but when the show's here, Garret, you're gonna get all of it, man.
It's a good reason to be excited, man. It's great to be here, and I'm excited about this conversation that we're gonna have.
I am too. Talking about hurdles, Garret. About hurdles, man.
Well, one thing I know for certain is everybody who's listening to this has experienced hurdles in their life. So that's a beautiful thing about this conversation. Now, this is going to show up differently for everybody. It looks different. There's many different ways to overcome them, but everybody's going to face them. So there's something that everybody that listens is going to get from this conversation. So I'm so excited that you picked this topic and that you're having me here to discuss it with you.
Guys, he's already started. I said, when you watch a relay race, a lot of the hurdles, sometimes some are higher than the others. And Garret said they don't all look the same for everybody. They do not. And because they don't look the same, Garret, you know what? It takes different things to get over them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to approach it. I'm not, man, listen, I told you guys this was going to be a good one. Thank you, Garret, for being here on the show. Garret, I've had the wonderful opportunity and honor of speaking with you prior to the show. So I got to know a little bit about you. What is it that you do and who you are and who are you? What do you do? Please do me a favor. Share with everyone a bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So thank you for the this opportunity, the introduction. So Garret Biss, I'm a retired Marine Corps pilot. I flew C-130s in the Marine Corps for 16 and a half years, and I took a retirement in 2015. And since then, because of the hurdles that I've gone through in my life and because of my opportunity to kind of, find ways to overcome my own hurdles, but then also work with other individuals in facing and analyzing and coming up with plans to go through their hurdles, I found a real opportunity to serve people. And the specific audience that I typically serve are those that have struggled with addiction at some point in their life. So a substance or behavior was a major hurdle that came into their life and maybe provided temporary relief for a period of time. But then everybody that struggles with addiction at some point, that substance or that behavior that provides that comfort or their ability to escape or ability to numb the pain becomes too big of a hurdle to overcome. So I've had the great opportunity to help individuals that have started their recovery journey and decided that they want to give up a substance or behavior because of the cost that it's having in their life, and helping them create that life that they want to live. So I see a lot of people that have struggled with addiction. They start their journey in recovery. Maybe they find sobriety, but not enough people or too many individuals will kind of stop their journey there. and they just find that, they're trying to white knuckle. They're trying to create a life where they can force themselves to be in a situation where they don't revert to old habits or old substances, old behaviors. And I think that's really sad. And I think it's really unfortunate.
Exactly.
Because for, my ideal journey in recovery, and what I try to encourage my coaching clients or those that I speak to is the goal of recovery is to create a life for yourself that you don't want to escape from, that you don't want to numb.
Oh, wow.
It's not about trying to suffer through life without that substance or the behavior. The goal is to create that life, to get out, get some of those obstacles, get some of those hurdles out of our way so that we're now experiencing a life that we don't need to numb the pain and we don't need to escape from.
Hey, man, you said something there, Garret, I've never heard someone say before. Create a life that you don't want to escape from. And what that tells me, Garret, is the hurdle may come back. You might see it again because life goes on. Life continues. And because life does continue, one thing I've learned about life, Garret, it will always bring that same hurdle back to you. Whatever you got over, whatever you say you've conquered, whatever you say you've gotten past, life will test your resolve. It will test what you said you got over and bring that same hurdle back. But you said, create a life you don't want to escape from. So that tells me, even when it comes back, I don't want to go back, not because it's not there. I don't want to go back because I don't want to leave what I've created.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
And I've heard a quote before that the hurdles or the challenges or the obstacles, the lessons in life, they'll continue to show up until we've learned the message or we've gained the insight or gained the skill that we needed from that lesson. Otherwise, we'll continue to experience bad relationships. We'll continue to experience problems in our profession, in the workforce, problems with friends until we learn that lesson that hurdle was intended to teach us. Because that's what I think about hurdles, is that hurdles, when they show up as obstacles or challenges in our life, they show up for one of two reasons. The first reason, they show up to guide us back on a better path, or like, hey, this is your sign that you're going the wrong way. Right. And this obstacle that you won't be able to overcome is your opportunity to make a shift, make a little course correction to go to, to get back on the place in life that you're supposed to be. Or the hurdle, the obstacle, the challenge will show up to give us an opportunity to gain the strength, gain the tools, gain the insight, make that experience, that growth, so that we are no longer a person that will struggle with that challenge as we move forward. They say, be careful for the things that you wish for, the things that you pray for, because when, the answer to our prayers might not be the same situation that we thought it's going to be, but we're going to be presented an opportunity to grow into the person that experiences that result or that outcome that we're after.
And that's the part I like, Garret. We want better for our life. And you ask the average person, do you want something better for your life? Do you want better? And the average person will say, yes, I do want something better. Sometimes that better comes with a hurdle. Let me ask the audience this question. To those who are listening and those who will be watching and hearing this on Spotify and Pandora, let me ask you this question. What do you do when better comes with a hurdle? Yeah, I know, Garret, we want better. Oh, I want more money. I want more happiness. I want this. I want to be a better person. But what do you do when your better requires a hurdle? My son used to run track. My youngest son used to run track. And he was pretty quick, pretty fast running track. And he said, Dad, I'm pretty good at running track. He said, but those hurdles, they're tough. He said, it's hard for me to get over those hurdles. I said, they're not going to move them off the track. You're going to have to learn how to get over them. And
there's only one way to navigate this. You're going to have to be better at the hurdles.
You got to get better at the hurdles. And we want better, but we don't do better at the hurdles. Now, your journey is incredible. Your journey might be described as difficult, like a hurdle. Like my son, man, I just can't handle that hurdle. Your journey might be described as difficult, tumultuous, and a high hurdle, so to speak, to get over. What was going on in your life at the time, Garret, that kind of created this really high hurdle for you, my friend?
Yeah, so Man, I've got so many good points I want to come back and talk about. So we got to make sure we get
I
back to
know.
it. I'm going to take some notes, man. So the short story was, and this is probably something that's similar that resonates with a lot of the listeners, is I was at a point in my life where, from the outside looking in, I had the college degree, I had the job, I was traveling around the world, I had the wife, I had the beautiful kid, it's my daughter at home, I had 2 cars, everything that the world says that you're supposed to go after or that you should want. And when I did an inventory, I was like, I feel dead inside. Like I'm exhausting myself. I'm putting out everything that I have in order to do and experience and get the things in life that I thought were going to provide some fulfillment and some happiness.
Right.
But honestly, I feel dead inside and I don't have more to give. So if I'm giving everything I've got and maybe I'm getting, 5% return via joy and happiness, then what's going on here? So I was kind of at this crossroads and I decided, one of 2 things is happening. Life is supposed to be a miserable experience that we suffer through and then ultimately die at the end.
Yeah.
Or there's some fundamental values, beliefs, understandings, perspectives that I'm holding that just aren't true, and it's creating this situation. So hoping that it was the latter, hoping that there were some things that I could change in myself and things that I could approach differently, it really opened up my mind to questioning everything I thought, everything I believed, everything that I was doing, and trying to find a better path to overcome some of those hurdles or overcome those obstacles that was creating such a negative situation in my life. And that's really what sparked my journey into personal growth and to personal development and to understanding the behaviors in my own life, and then better being able to understand and help other individuals understand some of the challenges or some of the hurdles that they're inviting into their own life unintentionally, which is putting them off on a path that they don't want to go down.
Man, Garret, you said something, then we can revisit those points you were making. Garret, you said, man, if you would look at the outside, everything that we wanted or say we want to be successful or have happiness or be good, you had that, but there was still something that was missing. And a lot of us, we feel, well, if I had the right car, right job, lived in the right neighborhood, graduated from the right schools, went to school, finished school, whatever, then I'd be a happier person. Then I'd be a better me. If I had not made this decision, then I'd be a better person. If I didn't do this, wrong or incorrectly, I'd be a better person. But let's say you didn't do any of those things. He said, man, I didn't do any of that stuff. And I still didn't feel fulfilled. I still had stuff that was going on in the aching inside of me.
Yeah, so I'm going to tie this back to something that you mentioned in the intro. People, no racer intentionally jumps over other people's hurdles. But I think in our lives, especially when we feel like something's missing, we'll look external to us to try to find a solution. And a lot of times we'll look for models or inspiration, or we'll look to see what other people are doing. And when we're doing that, we're actually looking at somebody else's lane. We're looking at the hurdles that they're overcoming. And we might think, oh, maybe I just need a new degree. Maybe I need a new job. Maybe I need this profession. Maybe I need that new car, because we think, in our minds, we're seeing, oh, that guy's got a smile on his face. That gal's got a smile on her face. Maybe I got to do what they did. But in the same time, we're taking our attention away from our own lane. Now we're looking at other people's hurdles and trying to overcome the things that they did. And now we're not feeling fulfilled because you just stepped in somebody else's lane and you jumped over their hurdle. You're not dealing with the things that are in your lane.
Man, listen. And that's what trips us up, Garret. We're wondering why we're tripping up over our hurdles. We wonder why we're frustrated. And that's where the frustration in life comes. When we lose focus of our hurdles and look at someone else, what they're achieving, what they've done, and we focus and we're not saying don't look at someone for inspiration. But when you get through looking at someone else for inspiration, you have your own hurdles that you're going to have to jump. Right. You have your own hurdles that you're going to have to clear. They're not going to move away. They're not going to just vanish. There is no, I'm going to say 3 times and turn around in a circle and they'll disappear. When you turn back around, they will still be there waiting on you to get over them. Very good point, Garret. We look to others, but at the end of the day, we still have our own hurdles. We still have the things we have to get past, the things that we don't like to talk about, the things we don't like to share with others, the things in our lives that we had to move forward past and push beyond. Those are the hurdles, the things that people said to us, Garret, that makes us feel like trash. It feels like garbage. our own
The things that we say
self-value.
to us, the things that we say
Man,
to ourselves.
come on, man. That
That's a
part
whole
right
show
there.
right there.
That's a whole that's a whole month on that. The
Yeah, no
things
kidding.
that we say to ourselves that keep us back, it's a hurdle. The conversations that we tell ourselves. Listen, you're in a room full of people, and we're having a whole conversation in our own heads how we don't deserve to be here.
That's right. Right. People celebrating us and cheering us on, and inside we're having this dialogue that something, I don't deserve this, or there's something wrong with this. So I think that's what happened with my life, and that's why I was at the crossroads. First of all, this isn't a judgment for anybody that this resonates with. I think it's our natural, like, human inclination that if we're experiencing something we don't want to experience, and we feel like something's missing, we're going to look for some answers out there. It's just
exactly.
It was an awareness that I gained that I was looking for answers someplace that those answers weren't existing. And now I relate this exhaustion that I was experiencing. I was running somebody else's lane. I was jumping over their hurdles, or I was jumping over society's hurdles, or I was doing these things that other people said I should be focusing on. That's why I was exhausted. And I'm like, hey, man, my score's not going up. Like, if this is an arcade game, like, I'm not getting any credit here for all these hurdles that I'm jumping over.
Not even getting the extra life.
That's right. Yeah. Like, I'm running out. I'm exhausted. Well, damn, I've been jumping over everybody else's hurdles.
And you look back, you still got a lane full of hurdles to jump over.
That's right. It's like, come on, man.
But that's how life is. That's how it is, Garrett. We're so caught up, especially with social media. We can jump on social media. We see how well somebody appears to be doing. We see how well someone appears to be successful. And the human nature in us says, well, you're not doing enough. And because you're not doing enough, if you were doing enough, you'd be just like that person. Because you're not like that person, you're not doing enough. We still have a lane full of hurdles that need jumping over. So fast forward to where you are now, and you could have easily gotten the help that you needed and walked away. You could say, I'm good, got my help, I'm done, I'm finished with it, I'm out, I got what I need. You could have easily gotten help that you wanted and walked away, but that's not what you did. You didn't do that. How did this become a passion of yours for others, to help others to get the same thing that they needed, get the help that they needed also?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's kind of two reasons. One's a little selfish and one's a little selfless. First of all, the selfish thing is, man, I want all my suffering and all the pain that I've been through to have been for something. So let me find some way to turn that into something good. You want me to tell you something good? That's it. I needed to take my pain and create something good from it. So maybe that was a little bit selfish reason, but I think that's human nature. Like, we look back and we look at some of the challenges and the obstacles and those hurdles that we've overcome. We want to make sure that there was something good that's come from that. So any awareness or knowledge or insight or tools that I picked up, I wanted to turn around and make sure that I could get the most from that. And then the selfless reason is just understanding how much pain and suffering there is in the world around us. Like, yeah, you can look at the end of the spectrum and you see people that are struggling with addictions and their whole lives are turned upside down. But then just beyond that, there's a whole spectrum of individuals who they're just not experiencing the joy, the happiness, the fulfillment. They're not making the contribution or the impact that they want. And something inside of them is just dying, it's just rotting away. And you think about all the contribution that could be made to the world, to communities, to improving other people's lives and lifting the whole population. There's a whole lot there that can be tapped into. So a lot of what I do now, it's inspired by that desire to help individuals become that better version of themselves, or experience a life a little bit better so that they show up as a better version of themselves. They make a more positive impact, and they're just getting more from this, from this race that we're running.
Absolutely. And when we think about hurdles, we think about, a lot of times we instantly think about things that are in our way, things that are blocking us. But hurdles, I told my son, I said, hurdles aren't designed to keep you back. Hurdles are designed to show you how high you can go. They really are designed to show how you can. You said earlier that hurdles present us with an opportunity. And the things that specifically some of the things that our veterans have gone through, and just recently we've had Memorial Day, and now this being June the 6th, it is D-Day. And how apropos here is we're having this session here, this episode on D-Day, when things had to happen where soldiers had to get past the hurdles in their minds. They had to get past whatever fear that was, whatever intrepidation that was there. They had to get past a lot of things to conquer that. And each one of us will have to face something that we don't want to. We will all have our personal D-Day, Garrett. We're all going to have that day where we have to face something. And I look at D-Day, I think about D-Day as a turning point. It's a turning point. Each one of us will have a turning point in our lives when it comes to the hurdles. We can continue to overlook them. We can continue to say, well, I'll get to it. But at one point in time, there's going to turn a point where you're going to make your mind up. I'm jumping this hurdle. I'm getting over this hurdle. Soldiers, you've been in the military. Soldiers face all type of hurdles. And you being a pilot in the Marines, I'm sure there were things you could have a story, fill books and volumes on the things you've had to overcome as a soldier. Soldiers face different types of hurdles and battles. But this is something that a lot of the times occurs silently and beyond battlefield. And what I'm talking about is these hurdles of addiction. Because a lot of times soldiers don't tell you that. They don't tell you they have, and people who are addicted don't tell you they have an addiction. People would rather tell you that their arm is broken than tell you they have an addiction. They would rather tell you their leg is broken than tell you that I have an addiction. So a lot of times these soldiers and these individuals, they're in this battle all by themselves. They're in this battle that's kind of beyond the battlefield. They'll face bullets flying at them. They'll face an enemy shooting at them. But Garrett, you can't get them to tell you that they have an addiction.
Right.
The toughest things they can face, but they won't say, I have a problem with this.
Well, one thing is addictions show up in so many different ways. So when I think of addiction, I think it's just an over-reliance on a substance or behavior that's used to deal with some pain that's inside. And that's one of the challenges. It could show up in so many different ways. We have this select list of substances that we consider these addictive substances, but there's so many other ways. And, I love the work by Dr. Gabor Mate, and he shares that an addiction is any behavior that a person craves, gets temporary relief or pleasure from, has a negative consequence as a result of, yet has difficulty giving it up. I love that definition because this helps us see so many different things in our lives through a new lens and really ask, is this substance or this behavior that I'm going after, that I'm inviting into my life, is it creating a negative consequence that I don't want? And if it is, and I can't give it up, well, that's where the addiction manifests. And that could be drinking for one person. It could be porn for another. It could be shopping for another. It could be some benign, behaviors that we don't think of as addictions, like a nightly Netflix binge that's 3-4 hours of somebody's night getting sucked. And I'm all about Netflix. I like to watch some shows and movies. And I'm not saying that every time it's an addiction, but if it's creating a negative consequence in your life, if your relationships are struggling, if your health is struggling, if you're not making the progress in your job that you want, and it's because of this behavior, well, there's something that can be addressed. So one of the challenges, so we talk about these new hurdles that are coming into our life, and what my TEDx talk is about for those that want to visit or watch it. I talk about the major hurdle that comes up when an active duty military member transitions from the military. There's so many things that are changed in an instant when that happens. We lose our sense of connection. We lose our sense of authenticity. We lose our sense of meaning. And when that happens so abruptly and we're not prepared for it, it takes so many veterans, and that rapid transition itself can be a traumatic experience. So regardless of what somebody faces when they're on the battlefield or somebody experienced while they were in the military, that rapid transition from military service itself can be traumatic. And this is something that a lot of veterans aren't prepared for, and it shows up unexpectedly. But the result of this is that loss of connection, that brotherhood, that sisterhood that we have when we're in the military. It's a unique level of connection. And when you lose that in an instance, and now you find yourself back in the civilian world, back where, you know, in your home community, and you're losing that sense of connection, we also lose our ability to, you know, we need connection. We need connection for emotional regulation. We need connection for a sense of belonging, to feel secure in who we are. So, you know, this is as serious as our need for water, for food, for shelter. If we're hardwired, and if we lose that sense of connection, everything inside is just going to be, you know, kind of in a survival mode or emergency state. We lose that sense of meaning. For veterans that have gone, you know, and raised their hand and volunteered and stepped forward to serve their country, protect their loved ones. It's really hard to replace that sense of meaning when you come out. When you're not prepared for that, when you're not ready for that, that's another very abrupt thing. So these are some. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just agreeing with you. You're right.
Yeah, these are some things that create that pain in our life. And when you seek that substance or that behavior to deal with that pain or that challenge, that's where, you know, that's where a lot of veterans will go off the track. And again, it's not, you know, there's some veterans that they get to the place where they're clinically diagnosable and they'll go off for treatment. But there's so many other veterans, just like there's so many other Americans, that maybe they're not all the way there. Maybe they're not at that end of the spectrum, but man, they're still missing something in their life. There's still something that's not lining up. There's still something that feels like it's missing. There's a void. There's some way that they're not making that impact. They're not experiencing the joy and the happiness that they want. And that's tragic. And there's ways to overcome that. And there's some tools and processes to help individuals move forward.
Wow. Guys, listen, you named some specific hurdles that veterans face, you know, coming from active duty back into civilian life. And whether you've been in the military or not, guys, I want you to understand something. When you are if you're going from active duty to civilian life, that's just what we call a transition. So anytime, Garret, we go through a transition in our life and we weren't prepared for it, or maybe we were, but not at that intense, our minds, let me help you out, guys. Your mind cannot determine the difference whether you're going from active duty to civilian life, to one transition in your life to another, because your mind will respond the same way. And there's no difference between someone leaving active duty, Garret, and coming to civilian life, than you going from one transition in your life to another unexpected transition in your life. You will still have to have same hurdles.
Right. There's basic fundamental needs that we have, you know, that need for connection, the need for authenticity, that positive self-identity, the need for meaning. I mean, meaning right there, when you change, you know, there's different ways to fulfill our sense of meaning, but when you lose your sense of meaning, you also lose the capacity to deal with hard times in your life. Viktor Frankl is one of the you know, foremost individuals on the study of meaning, and he says that meaning provides our capacity to endure suffering. So whether that's a transition, you know, maybe you're an empty nester, maybe you're a widow, maybe you just retired, maybe you just transitioned, you know, careers. You lost that sense of meaning that you had. Now you've also lost that ability to deal with the hard times that come up. And yes, that can happen any transition, and you know, and it shows up in many different ways.
And now you can't deal with it. Now you're having a tough time with it, and now your family doesn't know what you're really dealing with, because you know what? That's your private battle. You're not going to tell anybody about it.
If you even know, like, you might not even know.
If you even know, if you're even aware of it, man, you are hitting so many points and bells with this, Garret, that you know, it's not just people who are veterans. It's not just our veterans that can be dealing with this. Someone in our everyday lives can be dealing with this. And then with veterans, it's kind of difficult for their families to relate, because, well, they weren't in battle. You know, they didn't go to, you know, they didn't go to whatever. But here it is, civilians, we are the same way. And going from one transition in your life, it's the exact same thing. We're facing those very same hurdles, Garret.
Absolutely,
man. You name, what are some of the factors let's see, that you have seen that help keep this a private battle for so many people? Because this is just something that's brand new. Right. This has been going on for years. What are some of the things that you've seen that keeps this as a private battle for people?
Yeah, I mean, you know, pride, ego, those are things that can show up for anybody, and especially in the veteran community. I mean, that's who I'm most closely connected to, so I can speak from that perspective. For in the active duty military, you're trained to, hey, suck it up, just keep going. Don't be the burden. You want to be
Ooh.
somebody who's contributing to the mission, not detracting from it. So you suck a lot of things up, you bottle a lot of things up so you can get on with the mission, get on with the next thing. And that's probably something that's true that translates to everybody. When you're facing you're facing something, you're going to suck up some personal challenge. You're trying to get that promotion, trying to finish that project for work. You're going to bottle up some of the things that are going on in your personal life. So I think that's a big obstacle is, just that pride or that ego or that, we want to be good enough. We want to be strong enough to overcome something. We don't want to have to go out and burden somebody else by asking for help. So that can be a huge challenge. And then also, I think just a lack of awareness. For me, it was a long period, a slow slide for a long period of not feeling, feeling a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse.
Right.
And, it wasn't an abrupt thing that just happened. If somebody goes through a traumatic experience, they're in a car accident, they witness a house fire, they lose a loved one, then that's a pretty abrupt traumatic experience. But trauma doesn't always show up that way. It can be, a slow transition. It can be a slow onset. And I think that's more challenging or more difficult because we don't realize, as we're slowly sliding backwards, maybe we get to a point where now we don't even have the capacity. Like we're so focused on survival now, we don't even have the capacity to reach out for help. And now we don't know where to turn anyway. So I see a lot of individuals, especially those that are struggle with addiction, that, there's a lot of resources in my community. There's a lot of resources in every community to help people out in different ways. But when you're doing okay, if you're like, if you're well employed, you got good relationships and everything, like it's hard for anybody to find those resources because they tend to be hidden place. You got to know the place to go to. You got to know the agency. You got to know the website. You got to know that
and know the person who to contact.
Yeah, that's right. But if you're in survival mode, like if you're, just trying to get your head above water, you don't have the capacity to do that research and connect with those resources. And maybe your pride gets in the way and says, don't burden somebody else out. Don't go take a resource from somebody else out. So you continue to struggle with it until it gets a little too late. And, and for some people that, that turns into addictions, that turns into their life falling apart, their relationships falling apart, losing jobs, whatever that looks like. It can show up different, those hurdles can show up different ways for everybody.
Wow. And remember we mentioned earlier in the show that hurdles, if you look at a relay race, they aren't all the same height. They not all the same height. And you just said they show up in different ways. They do. They show up differently to each of us. And they show up each of us so we can. And I always wonder why they put different size hurdles in different lanes. Why can't all the hurdles be the same height, the little short ones? Why can't they be the same? Because that's not how life is. Life is it's not a cookie pattern thing. My life, your life, everybody's life is not going to be the same. The hurdles will appear differently. Things like embarrassment, like you mentioned, shame, pride, things like embarrassment to their families, the social stigma of alcohol use or alcohol abuse, those social stigmas. They come on, oh, you use alcohol, oh, you're a bum, oh, you're good for nothing. You're a drug addict, oh, you're just a good for nothing nobody. Society is really quick to throw people away that have issues, that have problems. They are so quick to throw a label on something, especially if it's something that they think that's beneath them or beneath it. So things like embarrassment to their families, the social stigma of alcohol misuse, and even the emotional and mental anxiety can also be hurdles as well that I heard you mention. What are some, I want to touch on this. What are some things that you offer that help veterans overcome these hurdles?
Yeah, so great question. So first, as you're mentioning all those things, the words "your lane" keep coming up in my mind. So we talked a little bit earlier about how we can be distracted by looking at other people's hurdles, other people's lanes, maybe trying to get some insight or some clarity or some inspiration for ourselves. Also, when we're looking at the struggles and the challenges in our life, it's important to look at our lane. And that can be a hurdle for a lot of people that don't want to reach out for help because they're like, you know what, Johnny or Steve or Billy or somebody, like their life's a lot worse than mine. So I better be able to deal with these problems that are on my plate. I do a lot of work with some nonprofits overseas, and I'm very in touch with how bad life is in some third world communities around the world. So sometimes as I'm dealing with my own struggles, I'm like, man, I just got to suck it up because it could be so much worse. Sometimes that can be helpful and inspirational, but if that becomes a hurdle for you to address or get the support or get the tools or get the resource that you need to overcome your challenges, like the hurdles are showing up in your life for a reason. And it's our job, I believe, for us to face the hurdles that are in our lane, not comparing them to somebody else's and not looking at somebody else and, the hurdles that they're overcoming, thinking that we need to do things that other people are doing.
Right.
We're here to live our own life experience, and we're here to overcome our own hurdles in our own lane. So I don't know, that a quick soapbox moment up there, and now I'll share.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
So some of the resource I have a recovery coaching program. So as I mentioned, I work with people in addiction recovery, specifically with veterans presently.
Mhm.
And I have a program, it's called the valiantpath.vet. And it brings a lot of the tools and resource that I've learned over the last 10 years and some, influence from a polypositive psychology, just some tools and resources that we can use to start reframing the way that we show up, reframing the way that we see ourselves, and doing some things that help us relieve our stress, relieve our tension, reset our central nervous system in healthy and productive ways so we can make some forward progress. And if anybody's interested, I did put together a free gift for all of your listeners. They can go to thewarriorreset.com. I know you're going to share that link, but this is of all the things that I've learned over the years, I've handpicked and selected some of the most powerful interventions or daily practices or habits that we can create. And I picked things that purposely work together that anybody can do in less than 15 minutes a day. A couple of exercises or a couple of things that we experience that you can do in less than 15 minutes a day. And if you do it for 10 days, you'll experience a big shift in your life, both in your mindset, the way that you're feeling, the way that your body feels, the amount of stress or the level of stress that you have, and the way that you're thinking, that mindset, the way that you're thinking about yourself, the way you're thinking about your life, some of the voices in your head that either maybe they're not talking to you in a very nice way. So there's some things in there in the Warrior Reset to help start to reset some of those things, get back to baseline, hit reset. It's called the Warrior Reset. Honestly, anybody would experience some great results from going through it. So if you're a veteran, if you're a warrior, or if you are a warrior in your own life, it's something that would certainly provide some benefit.
Awesome. And I heard you mention the valiantpath.net, and I also heard you mention the Warrior Reset. Guys, Warrior Reset, he said that's a free gift to us as users. So if you guys are listening to this, whether you're on Pandora or whether you're on Spotify or wherever you are listening right now, guys, please visit thewarriorreset.com. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And I just noticed you said the valiantpath.net. It's valiantpath.vet, V-E-T as in veteran.
There it is. There it is, guys.
There we go. Valiantpath.vet. All right.
There you go. There it is right there. Visit that, guys. These are some very good tools that he's offering us today, guys. I know I'm going to go to thewarriorreset.com because I do like freebies. I'm sorry. Yep, I do.
We all do. Everybody likes a good freebie, especially one that can help you kind of hit that reset and and start to get a better footing on your life so that you can face some of these hurdles from a better position so you can overcome them. You don't want your feet sliding down the track when you're about to jump over a hurdle. So let's get your feet under you. Let's get you some good footing so you can take on these next hurdles that you're going to face.
That's a great segue to this, guys. I want to show you a video really quickly. Don't go. If you look at that video, the individual had to reset their footing before they can make the next hurdle. A lot of times we're trying to jump hurdles and we haven't reset ourselves. I don't know who's listening right now and need to reset. Maybe the hurdle isn't as bad. Maybe all you really need is a reset. I think, Garrett, that there are some people listening that could say, I just need a reset, whether it be with addiction, whatever it might be in life. I just need a reset because we're all going to have hurdles. We're all going to face things that we have to get over, whether it be something from our past, something from our future, something in our present. But let me just say this to everybody that's listening. Let me get close to the camera. All you need is a reset. Yeah, that's all you need. I know you weren't expecting life to have and present that many hurdles. They didn't tell me this when I was growing up, Garrett. that you would have this hurdle and then another hurdle and then another hurdle. They didn't tell me that. They just said you grow up and you be grown. That's all they said. No one told me about hurdles. If you are listening to this, there are hurdles, but it sounds like, Garret, all we really need is a reset. If we watch this video of this individual jumping over hurdles, before he jumped the other hurdle, Garret, he took a second to reset himself. And it sounds like, Garret, a lot of things can be handled better if we just take the time to reset ourselves. And you are offering a gift for us, the warriorreset.com. Whether you are a veteran or not, let me tell you something. If you survived COVID, oh, you're a warrior. If you survive these high prices, you're a warrior. If you're surviving in the climate that this society has, oh, Garret, they're warriors. I think they're a bunch of warriors that's listening right now, Garret. I think we got some. If you know you are a warrior, do me a favor. Do Garret and I a favor. Go ahead and type it in chat. I'm a warrior. Yeah, I'm a warrior with a capital W. And then visit thewarriorreset.com, Garret.
I dig it. You're right.
I think it, man. We get caught up in so much, but I think a reset is all we need. Are there any practical approaches in addressing these hurdles? For example, admitting help is even needed. Like you brought that point out earlier, or peer-to-peer accountability. Are there any practical ways to approach these hurdles, man?
Yeah, they say, so I hear all the time that our sickness is in our secrets. So as sick as we are, and as the depth of the struggles and the challenges that we're facing, a lot of times just sharing that with somebody else is a tremendous step forward. You know, just sharing these secrets that we're holding back, the things that we're worried about, the things that we feel we messed up, the things that we don't feel like we can deal with on our own, just sharing that with another person is a tremendous step forward. It also, you know, and you can share it with another individual. That's most powerful. If there's something that you don't even want to share with another person, sharing it with yourself, not thinking it in your mind, but writing it down on a journal. There's something about that separation from our problems when we just write it down and articulate what we're facing or what we're thinking. And we get a little bit of separation. This helps us see it in a new light, or maybe analyze it in a little bit different way. And a lot of times see some solutions or gain some clarity that is really helpful in helping us move forward. So, you know, I've journaled more and less times at different periods in my life, but I always find that, you know, when I'm really struggling with something, really holding on to something, I just putting pen to paper and just sharing it, or pulling up your keyboard and writing it out on a document on your computer, giving yourself a little bit of separation can be a tremendous step forward in overcoming that hurdle.
Absolutely. As there are practical ways that we can approach it. And if you look at this video, I showed a video for those who aren't watching of a person jumping over hurdles, but they weren't born doing this, you know, Garret. They had to be taught. It took time. It took patience, and they had to reset for every hurdle. They had to. It's a good idea that after every transition in your life, before you start something else, take a moment to reset. After every transition, whether you're going from employment to retirement, empty nester, you know, a house full of children, now you have an empty nest. Before any other major decision, before the next hurdle comes, why not take a moment to reset?
I think life would be a lot easier if we all remember to do that.
Take a moment to say, you know what, before another major decision, I'm going to reset. I know life is going to present another hurdle. Let me take a moment to reset. Because if we don't, Garret, what happens, we start making emotional decisions and emotional responses, and now we're tripping and falling over hurdles that we can actually get over.
Yeah, we're making life decisions when we're in a survival state ourselves. You know, we're in a fight or flight mode now, trying to rationalize and make life decisions, and
come on,
make the best ones.
Come on, man. That right there, making life decisions while you trying to run for your life. That's tough. How can you be contacted, and how are your services offered? They offer virtual, in person only. How can you be contacted, and what way can they get a hold of your services?
Yeah, so going to valiantpath.vet, the program I offer, it's all done virtually. So through, through the through the beauty of the internet. So we can do
I
some
love it.
group sessions, we can do one-on-one sessions either over the phone. And then there's also a lot of self-study material and curriculum that's provided for individuals to go through and then do it with accountability. So that's the easiest way. And then anybody can reach me either through valiantpath.vet or unspoken trauma. So one of the things I'm really trying to do with this message around unspoken trauma, the TEDx talk that I gave, is just share this message. There can be so much healing through sharing and providing a space for individuals to feel safe enough to share. So one of my mission with this with unspoken trauma.vet is inviting individuals that are touched by the TEDx talk to host a watch party. And that might mean that you got some colleagues at work that you want to watch it together and then talk about it. Or maybe some veterans in your community, in your family, or just some other friends that didn't serve but want to understand the veterans' plight a little bit better. There's an opportunity there to host a watch party so that we can get a group of people together. We'll watch the 11-minute TEDx talk together and then just kind of share whatever comes up, however somebody's feeling, ask any questions, get any kind of support and guidance. So that's a beautiful way to foster a sense of connection and community, and also bring to light some of our internal struggles so that we can gain some clarity, get a new footing so we can overcome those future hurdles.
Let me see, can I get the valiantpath.vet up here and share it with everyone so they can see it. There you go, right there.
Yeah, you can close out that window and scroll down a little bit. That's just for anybody that's looking for more information, that's the easy way to do it.
There you go, guys. Thriving beyond military service. There you go. How you get started up here. There's some videos here, downloads, and you can click on get started.
So if you know a veteran, if you are a veteran, or anybody that you know that might benefit from it, please share that, either valiantpath.vet and certainly unspokentrauma.vet, so we can get that message out there.
Awesome. Guys, that's some really good stuff. So people like to say, well, if I had some help, I had some resources, I would do it. Well, there you are. You have some resources now.
And you got an invitation, so I'm inviting you.
Yes, you've been invited, so you can reset. The veterans and family members of veterans are listening. To those that are listening, again, this is D-Day, so we a lot of us know what that means when the Allies stormed the beach of Normandy. And it gave them a chance to get over some hurdles. But to the veterans and family members of the veterans listening, what is something you can say to uplift their spirits right now, Garret?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So just on hurdles in general. So if we talked about, facing the hurdles that are in our own lane, not getting distracted by things that are outside of us, and also facing the hurdles in our lane and trying to gain the resources and the perspective to overcome those. I love the advice by Jim Rohn. He talks about setting a goal for what it will make of you to achieve it. And this is something we didn't really talk about with hurdles. Sometimes we want to invite new hurdles into our life because it's going to help us grow to become the person that we want to become. He often says, set a goal to become a millionaire. Not because having $1 million in the bank is so nice, though it certainly is, but because of what it will make of you, the skills that you need to develop, the things that you need to learn, the new connections that you got to make, the resources you got to make.
Exactly.
Set those goals. So I think it's very important for anybody who's struggling with a challenge in their life, whether you're a veteran, a loved one of a veteran, or just your own struggles and challenges in your life, set a clear goal of where you want to be. Sometimes there's so many hurdles, or we can see other people's hurdles and we're looking around and we feel overwhelmed. There's so many obstacles. Well, if we can just hone in on where we're trying to get to, then that can alleviate a lot of those, superfluous obstacles that are out there and help us really identify what's the next hurdle I need to overcome. So setting a goal for what it will make of you to achieve it. So where do you want to be? How do you want your life to be different? What's the specific way that you can quantify that? Maybe you hit that goal exactly. Maybe you never do. But in the process of trying to overcome or to reach that goal, you're going to overcome some hurdles that's going to make you become a better, faster, stronger, happier, more joy-filled, more connected, more loving version of yourself. And that's worth it right there.
Absolutely. It's what you learn. It's the skills you acquire along the way. It's not the destination. A lot of times we want it to be a destination. Once you get there, then what? What are you going to do? Then what? Then
Right. Set another goal.
You're gonna do what? Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
like you said, you're going to reset first because you're going to overcome some hurdles. You're going to reset first.
You better reset your feet because something else is coming. Reset
That's
your
it.
feet. Guys, I want to thank our very special guest, Garret Biss, for being here today. Garret, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your service. Man, I really appreciate that. A Marine Corps pilot. That's a whole nother episode right there, Garret.
We'll dig into that at some other time. Travis,
Man.
I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you sharing this message and all the other messages and resources and inspiration that you have with your audience. And I'm glad that and excited that I could have been a part of it today.
Thank you so much. We are honored that you're here, Garret. Guys, I got to get out of here. If I don't, people going to say something to me. So I got to get out of here, Garret. But the hurdles that a runner faces aren't made to stop the runner's progress. That's what we have to understand. I always thought, why would you put a hurdle in a race? That's going to stop the progress. But hurdles that a runner faces aren't made to stop the runner's progress. They're there to see just how high they can go. Things will always come up in our lives. It's up to us to decide what we do next. When encountering hurdles, the temptation that we face is to stop. But when we hear the right things, only then will we know it's our time to jump. Yeah. That's when you know it's your time to jump. Guys, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming in. Guys, you know how it is. It's about that time. And as always, it's been a real blast. I want to thank our very special guest, Garret Biss, for being here today. And thank you, everybody, for joining into the show, whether you're listening right now or watching. Thank you. Listen, you can tune in right here each Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, to listen to the show. And you can listen on your favorite streaming platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and so many more. We got to get out of here. But as always, in parting, if you're going to tell me something, then tell me something good. I'm out of here, y'all. We got to go.